Hey everybody, Daniel Baker here, and this is The Bake Show. I'm so glad that you all could be with me again today. This is a beautiful day up here on the North Coast, and if you end up liking this video, please hit the subscribe button and share it with your neighbor on my YouTube channel. If you're watching this on Facebook, hit like and share. Get somebody else to watch it. I hope this is encouraging for you. Anyway, I got this information. It was a devotional given by a friend of mine who's a pastor. His name is Ryan. But this is just really something that's impactful, and it meant a lot to me. And I just wanted to share it with all of you. Who are you as a leader, not only in your church, not only as a pastor or an elder or a ministry leader in your church, but who are you as the spiritual leader in your home? How is it you are representing God as a leader? There is this head-scratching story that is in Numbers 20, and it's when Moses pulls out his old shepherd's trick with his staff and he hits the rock, and when he hit the rock, water poured out. Many of you might know the story, and many of you have maybe never even heard of it. What can we get out of this? What is up with this story? And what really happened in the story that we can glean from all of this? We're going to be in Numbers 20, and I just wanted to get this out to you and see what your thoughts are as we do this together. Deuteronomy 20, verse 1. In the first month, the whole Israelite community arrived at the desert and Zin, and they stayed at Kadesh. There Miriam died and was buried. Now there was no water for the community, and the people gathered in opposition to Moses and Aaron. They quarreled with Moses and said, "If only we had died when our brothers fell dead before the Lord. Why did you bring the Lord's community into the wilderness that we and our livestock should die here? Why did you bring us up out of Egypt to this terrible place? It has no grain or figs, grapevines or pomegranates, and there is no water to drink." So as we start to see some things that are happening as a leader, as a pastor, or even as a parent. So think about what's happening. Moses is facing an opposition from his people, and they are questioning his leadership and what God is up to. So think about that. I know as a pastor, I have gotten resistance. Many of you out there as leaders in the churches have gotten resistance. I've gotten a lot of resistance as being a parent or the spiritual leader in my home. And so that's kind of where we're at today. I want you to think about the resistance that you've ever gotten before as a leader, whether it be in your home, your job, your church, whatever it might be. So we know that this is very common and it's very distinctive to leadership to have resistance. But Moses and Aaron shows us another distinctive mark of being a leader or being a pastor as we go into verse 6. Let's read this together. Moses and Aaron went from the assembly to the entrance to the tent meeting and fell down face down. And the glory of the Lord appeared to them. The Lord said to Moses, "Take the staff, and you and your brother Aaron gather the assembly together. Speak to the rock before their eyes, and it will pour out its water. You will bring water out of the rock for the community so their livestock and them can drink." So let's remember, one of the distinctive marks of pastoring is that we get to go and meet with the Lord. I love what Aaron and Moses did. They went to God and they fell on their face and said, "God, what do you want me to do? Here's the problem. Here's the resistance I'm getting as a leader. I don't know what to do, and I want to do what you want. I want to do what it is you want us to do." And I know many of us as leaders in the church, we start every sermon with prayer. We go to God in prayer to write a sermon or how to talk with someone before we make phone calls, before we meet with someone that is giving us pushback. We always pray. If you're having an argument with your spouse, you should pray first so that the words come out right. If you're trying to talk to your children, pray with your children first. That shows a strong leadership. You know, you pray first, go to God. And that's exactly what Aaron and Moses did here. And I think that there's something to be learned there for all of us. And God speaks to Moses and he gives him some very important instruction. He says that with this leadership, I want you to remember that we serve a God that will speak to us if we're really willing to listen. And he gave Moses these instructions. He says, speak to the rock. He never told him to hit the rock. He said, speak to the rock and the water will pour out. So he didn't do that. His instructions were very clear. So let's look how this story ends and what we can glean from this as just a people for God, for a people in leadership and people as parents or whatever it might be, a people that is for God. So let's read the rest of this now. It says, so Moses took the staff from the Lord's presence just as he commanded him. He and Aaron gathered the assembly together in front of the rock, and Moses said to them, listen, you rebels, I would really like to start a sermon that says, listen, rebels, but I'd probably get in trouble by most of the congregation that'll probably see this. Don't worry, I don't think you were all rebels. Okay, yeah, maybe I do. I've seen your Facebook posts. Anyway, I would like to start it that way. So it says, listen, you rebels, must we bring you water out of this rock? Then Moses raised his arm and struck the rock twice with his staff. Water gushed out and the community and their livestock drank. So in the story, it says must we bring you water? Who was Moses talking about? Was he talking about him and Aaron? What part did God play in that moment? It wasn't clear in the verse, but I think verse 12 and understanding the geography of the land can help us see who the we are. But the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, because you did not trust in me enough to honor me as holy in the sight of the Israelites, you will not bring this community into the land where I give them. And Moses gets to experience the consequence of his disobedience. And I think many times we end up facing a consequence if we do not involve God in the decisions that it is that we make. And a lot of times if God is leading us in a direction, especially as leaders of the church, and he's leading us to lead his flock a certain direction, and we take the credit as pastors, and we don't give God the credit, then there is going to be consequences. If you lead your family and you do not give God the credit in the direction he's telling you to lead his family, then what is going to happen here? What do you think is going to happen? There's going to be consequences, and I think that's what we're taking from this. So these consequences are going to add up, and they added up for Moses at this point. But why is it that consequence? Why is God saying, hey, you didn't include me. You hit that rock with the staff instead of talking to it like I told you to. And then you took the honor from the people. The people are now revering Moses as the one who brought water instead of God bringing water. Just what's really important is there's an old trick that the shepherds knew when it came to bringing water out of a rock. There was mineral buildup. So these springs would come down and they would go through a rock and they would come out a hole. And these mineral deposits would build up until no more water can go through. And the old shepherds would be able to hit it with their staffs and water would come out. And so Moses, instead of talking to it, and if it didn't work looking like a fool, he didn't trust God. He went ahead and hit it with his staff, knocked that mineral deposit off, and water came flowing out. So there is a problem there because he didn't trust God. And if he's not going to trust God enough to talk to the rock like he's done everything else, he knew that the water in the sea would split and all this stuff. He trusted God everywhere else, but he didn't trust God here. He took the safer bet. And so who gets honored? Who gets the glory? Moses did. So if Moses is going to take the honor for hitting the rock and bringing water, God's not going to allow him to get the honor for bringing the people to the promised land. And I think that's really important for all of us to know. And here's the thing. As leaders, our lives should be honoring the Lord. No matter what we are leading in, whether it be a church, a business, our homes, our children, we need to honor the Lord. It is really easy to begin to fall into the habit of personal cleverness that attracts people. I like to think that sometimes I could be witty to get a laugh or a chuckle or whatever it might be. But I still need to give God the glory, because God is who made me, and it is God who instructs me. So I'm going to leave you guys with this question today. I want to leave you with this. Is God telling you to do something? Has he told you to do something and you're doing it? And are you trusting him enough to honor him as holy as you do it? By doing what it is he has called you to do, are you taking all the credit for it? Or are you giving the credit to where the credit is really due and giving it to God? Our treasure isn't here on earth. Our treasure is in heaven. Give God the glory. So I just want to thank all of you for tuning in today. Thank you for listening to the devotional. I hope it touched you in some way. I know it has me. It makes me get a little gut check on who it is God is as my leader every day, as my king. He is the Alpha and the Omega. I'm not. We are not. So that is The Bake Show. I'm so glad that you guys were with us today. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. God bless you all. We'll talk to you soon.